Hi, in this presentation, I'm going to go over how to use the FTP client software to connect to your web server. Here I have the FTP client software open. I'm using FileZilla, but there are many other FTP client programs or applications that you may use. And it generally looks something like this. On the left side, you will see information about what we call the local site. The local site is your own computer that you're using. And we can see here, there is the directory structure of my own uh, directories and folders and documents and so on. And what I did is I created a folder for me to use to add my relevant web documents, my web page that I'm going to upload to the server. And you can see here, I called it underscore SIS underscore web underscore server. Now, you don't need to have this underscore. You can actually use spaces, but I like to do this. I put the underscore first, so it brings that up to the top of my list. So you want to make sure that you navigate, and you can kind of navigate here. You can kind of go back. You can type right. You should be able to type right here. So this is my own username account. And then you can, there are many folders here. These folders with the dot in the beginning, these are hidden files, but now we can see them. But I'm concerned with SIS web server. So I recommend you create a folder in one of your directories, in one of your other folders for all of your web content, okay? And you can call it anything, but obviously something that makes sense. Now we're going to make a connection to the web server that has been prepared for you. And you should have the IP address of the server, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same as this one here. And I grabbed it from somewhere and I paste it. So you paste it under the host, and then you're going to put your username. Your username is your own access ID. So mine is this, but yours will certainly be different. And you need to use the password that was given to you for this web server. May also called Apache server. Apache because that's the name of the brand of the web server. And also you want to make sure you put 22 for the port. So you need these four pieces of information here. The host is the server, the computer that we're connecting to. Username is your username. It's going to be your access ID, the password, and the port number. And then you can just quick connect, and that should lead you to the server. There's information will come up here of the steps that are going on, and eventually successful. And then I can see here what is in my remote site. The remote site is the server side. And what we're concerned for this class is this HTML folder. Because a lot of this other stuff here, all these other folders, if you can see, there's a list of permissions. These permissions refers to who can access and who can manipulate these files. And these files here, they are not public. Okay, and the HTML file, the HTML folder is public, and it is where we want to put our web page file so anybody with access to the web browser can reach it. So we're going to be working in the HTML folder. So as soon as you log in, make sure you go to the HTML folder. So just double click it and you should go there. Now, once you're in the HTML folder, you may have an index.html file there. You probably won't have an images folder there. I created that, but actually I can delete it and I'll show how I created it. So delete, there's actually something inside there, but I don't know if it tells me, but there's the index.html folder there. Now, index.html file. This may be empty or not. Mine is not empty, but yours may be empty. However, in this video, I'm going to focus on how you upload content to the server. And the way to do that is pretty straightforward. As you can see, first of all, I can right click here on the server side, on the remote side, and I can create a directory. I can create a new file, I can refresh, and you can, if you create on a right click on the file, you can download it, you can delete it, you can rename it, you can do many options. So for example, you can actually download, I can download the file that is already there. You may not need to do that because that file may be empty, but if you want to check out what is the content of this file, you may want to download it because there's no way to open the file here. The FTP is just for transferring the files and not for opening and rendering them. So I can right click on the file and download. Now, if you notice here on the left, I already have a file called index.html. So the computer is going to say, oh, hold on a second. The target file already exists. So do you want to override it? Or do you want to rename it or skip? And let's see, I'm going to rename in my case. So hit OK. And then let's say index2. Remember, you cannot write index2 at the end here because the file extension is kind of precious and it has to be very specific for what it's supposed to do. So index2.html. Okay, now you see I downloaded from the server. Now it's on my folder directory. So if you browse your folder directory from other ways, you should see both the index2 and the index.html. Now, if I double click the file from this side, I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but because the extension is HTML, your computer is going to think that this is a web page that should open with a web browser. However, we don't want to open this with a web browser right now. We may want to open it with a text editing software because that's how we will write the HTML code. Now, in this video, I just wanted to focus on downloading and uploading. So we just saw how to download the file. Now, suppose you want to upload the file because you went and you make modifications on your own computer to the file and you want to upload it. Well, you right-click the file and just select upload. Now, the same thing is going to happen. Hey, that same file is there. You want to overwrite it. Well, sometimes you do want to overwrite it because you made corrections and you don't want to leave the index file there because the index is the most important, or at least the introductory file to your web page, the default file that it goes to. So you may often want to override it. And for me, I know it's okay because I checked it, so I will override it. So it just stays only one remaining there. Now, on my web page, and as I will explain later, you want to create a file and a folder structure. So I have images in my web page. So I'm going to, if I double click on the images file, I see there is one picture there. And this folder here with 2 dots is, you just go back. So I want to upload my images file, my images folder with its own file to the server, upload, making sure that I'm still under HTML. And looks like file transfer successful. So I see now that I have an images folder here. And if I double click, Tango practice. So this is both on the remote side and on the server side. And actually, let me take a step back to see here. I'm going to go back to the HTML. I'm going to delete the images file. And I'm going to show you how to connect to the web page, to this index.html. Because the server that has been prepared for you is a public web server, we can access the web pages that we are creating, the web files that are placed in this public web server. And to do that, you need to use this address over here. It's going to be HTTP. Now, I think if you put HTTPS, it's not going to work because we already created all the security measures for this connection, namely the VPN. You're going to need the virtual private network to connect to FileZilla. If your VPN is not on, this is not going to work. But if it is on, you actually do not need the VPN to find the file with the browser. But we're not going to have HTTPS here. You have the IP address, which is the location of the server. Then you have your own account, So this is my access ID. You're going to use your own access ID and make sure you have HTML too, because that's the folder directory. And notice how this looks like a regular directory structure of the computers that we normally use. And you can either explicitly write out index.html, or you can leave it without it, because the browser will always default to the indexed HTML if there is nothing else there. So if it just, but let's make it explicit because that's better. Sometimes you rename this file, not index, you name it, main page file.html or something like that. So it's always good to be explicit as possible. Hit enter, and voila, it says not secure, but it's okay because we're dealing with very simple files. And you see, oh, welcome to my homepage. This is me below practicing some Argentine tango. If you've never heard of this dance, you should check it out. But notice how there is no picture. The text is there because that's the text I wrote in my HTML file, but the picture's not there. And that's because I deleted the picture or I had not uploaded it. So let's actually upload the picture to the server. I'll go back to the FTP, a client, upload. Seems like it worked. Now the images, Tango practice, it's there. So now I should see my picture. So I'm just going to refresh here, reload this page. Voila, it works. Sometimes it actually brings back the older page, and you maybe need to just wait a few minutes. But if you keep refreshing, you should work. So here we just reviewed how to use the FTP client to both upload and download files to our FTP server. I hope this is useful for you, and there will be much more next time.